Hey there, everyone. Before we get into today's conversation, we wanted to ask you a quick favour. I know, we're trying to learn more about who's listening to More Than a Score. Whether you're a parent, educator, or just someone figuring out your own pathway, we want to make every episode as relevant as possible to you. So, we've got a really short survey, literally 10 seconds, 2 questions. And as a thank you, we're putting everyone who completes it into a $100 prize draw, which we'll announce live at the end of April. The link's in the show notes if you'd like to help us out, and thank you in advance.
I think as an 18-year-old, you're probably more chasing the outcomes. But now, I think as you get a bit older, it's are you comfortable with yourself? Are you comfortable with the actions that you are putting forward, like in work and life? I think that's probably more important to me than...
What happens when school is never really presented as a choice, but as the expected path? In this episode of More Than a Score, we sit down with Val Gnanakone, whose story brings a thoughtful and a really valuable perspective on education, culture, pressure, and what success can really look like over time. Val's amazing, and he shares in this episode what it was like arriving in Australia from Singapore and suddenly experiencing school in a really different way. He reflects on the expectations that came with family, culture, and discipline, and how those have actually shaped the way he has approached education, achievement, and most importantly, life beyond school. But what makes this conversation so helpful? Well, to be honest, Val just speaks both from experience and also hindsight. He understands the pressure to do well, to keep moving, to stay on track, but he also offers something a little deeper. That reminder that success is not just about finishing, earning, or just proving yourself. It's actually about contribution, being at peace, and really being comfortable in who you are. If you're a parent trying to support your child without placing too much pressure on them, or you're a young person wondering whether you've got it all figured out straight away, or if you need to have it all figured out straight away, this episode offers some new perspective, reassurance, and importantly, a bit of a wider lens. So, welcome to this episode of More Than a Score. Val Gnanakone, it's so lovely to have you on here. I'm very lucky that I get to do the introduction for the guests. I'm not sure if the guests feel that that's lucky, but for me, I feel lucky to be able to do this. I've done a little bit of reading and research and speaking to some different people. So 11 years old when landed in Australia, moved and experienced new country, new school, new culture. From average in Singapore to topper of the class in maths in Australia, while also being misjudged with your English abilities. An engineer and dominator of cricket, aka the Prez, also with an MBA. A board member, a family-minded businessman, a disciplined problem solver, and a warm presenter. A dad of 2. Val, welcome to More Than a Score.
Wow, thank you very much for the warm welcome. That you've done your research. That's what I can say, considering I haven't met you before.
Always.
I don't recall meeting you before.
I left a very large imprint at that 40th birthday party, both obviously.
So you've done your research, thank you. Nice to be here.
It's so lovely to have you. We've both been very excited about this.
Yeah.
I have been, by proxy, very excited, though I had met you very briefly, but Laura, the way that she talks about it, so we've been so excited. So we're so happy to have you on the episode.
Yeah, Tom and I, we both speak very highly of Val, don't we, Dan?
Absolutely. Well,
Yes.
if I said no, then that would be a really awkward moment in the episode. Right? Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Yeah.
We'll go back and we'll start again.
We'll try. No, thank you. I've been listening to a few in preparation and obviously before, and I'm really keen to see what I can provide your listeners.
We're excited too. So, it's a lovely segue. So the fact that you've listened to a few,
yes.
The way we start our episodes is saying, Val, when you think back to the end of your time at school, were you happy with your score?
I've had some time to ponder the question because, yes, as I said, I have listened to a few. And I think the short answer is no. And the reason I say that is expectation. I had a lot of family expectation about performing well, you really should get a good score. Friends always saw me as someone that would do well. I did specialist maths methods in year 12, so, all those expectations, well, you're doing those hard subjects, so you're going to have to smash it. And I think I mentioned the family expectations as well. There wasn't really a situation where you wouldn't get into uni or get into what you were destined to do, become a doctor, become an engineer, a lawyer, of course, all those sort of key roles. So when I got my score, it wasn't quite what I wanted. But it didn't stop me from being able to get into the degree that I ended up studying with. So that was good. So at the end of the day, I guess it didn't impact me too significantly, but certainly when I got the number whenever it was, it certainly wasn't what I was expecting.
Was it back in the days when we got paper scores, or was this a digital score that you would check the website and see it load very slowly?
I think it was one of the first few years with the website. Yeah.
I was trying to think, you would still have been in the year of doing the CATs, were you?
Yes.
Were you doing CATs?
Yeah. CATs. I graduated in 1999.
Yeah.
Not the Andrew Lloyd Webber play Cats. Just, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
just to
thanks.
clarify.
Yes.
Just to clarify. Okay, not the play.
And Val, when you say, because it sounds like you had a peer cohort around you, because you said my friends expected me to do well. So was there a peer cohort expectation about doing well, and what does do well mean from a peer perspective?
Maybe not in specifically. I guess I felt it. Again, as I said, doing those harder subjects, I think then you automatically assume you're obviously very smart to be able to do those subjects, so you have to do those well and get a good outcome as a result of that. Look, I certainly was diligent. I studied. I did all the right things. I guess as I got to the back end, I probably lost a little bit of focus is probably what happened. Yeah, I certainly think I had the tools to do it, but yeah, I certainly lost some focus.
Where did that focus go?
There was a little bit of a tragic experience in the year before, which affected that school at the time. It definitely took a little bit out of me. And then also, I think, 16, 17-year-old young man, there's a party on.
Yeah.
Every so often. So, yeah, look, I certainly think that took me away a little bit. And look, I started working, I was at Hungry Jack's. And obviously the desire to be able to support yourself to a degree was there as well. So look, I took shifts. I probably worked a bit too much during year 12 and even through uni as well.
I stupidly made the decision to go for my P's test, to go for my license during my year 12 exam period. So I studied really well for my P's test.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then sort of relied on my memory for the exam. So I can relate to the shift in the focus, albeit slightly different though. So I'm really fascinated and curious to hear this shift from Singapore and this experience of being, seen as average in maths. And then you come to Australia and then you're like, wow, I'm performing incredibly well here.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, so you put forward in your pre-pod form was about being pigeonholed and misjudged when it came to your English capabilities. So going through both of those strange experiences, so suddenly up towards the top and then being misjudged and wrongfully pigeonholed, did that shift your confidence as a learner?
Yeah, it certainly impacted my confidence. So I moved to Australia in 94, having spent a lot of my life in Singapore and a few years in the UK. But the last sort of 4 or 5 were in Singapore. So different standard of education. Maths was very high in terms of high. I still remember getting hit with a ruler by my teacher.
Wow.
Like at the front of the class. Like that was normal.
Wow.
You would get hit if you didn't perform it or something like that. So that's where the very disciplined approach and, all success and no failure sort of options.
Right.
So during that, I was probably at the middle of the range in terms of maths performance. And then, when I came to Australia, the maths was pretty simple in year 7. So that was the first year in Australia. So I was pretty high up in maths in year 7. So that, I felt pretty good about it. I was quite young in terms of my age when you look at the gradings of school, etc. When I finished year 12, I was 17, only turned 18 halfway through uni the year after. So I was pretty young. So that certainly gave me a lot of confidence about, oh yeah, great, I'm doing quite well. But then on the English sort of thing, side of things, like certainly, obviously English in Singapore compared to Australia is not going to be comparable, and that balance from where I might have been at the top in English in Singapore naturally probably would be halfway here. But I think, I still remember the teacher sort of going, oh yeah, I think you need to go to a development English class. But I think because I had come from Singapore or another country, that was their solution straight away, where I might have potentially been able to just accelerate with a bit more normal learning. It's quite funny. That teacher was a fill-in in year 10 or something in one of my classes, and I had just got an A in English.
Yeah.
And I put the paper in front on my desk, and when he walked past, I just went, just sort of gave him a little look.
Yeah.
You're like, I hear what you're saying,
yeah.
but I contradicted
Yeah.
this.
This was, so 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah, it's still stuck though by the
Yeah,
sound
it
of it.
certainly did. Like,
Yeah.
I think you talked about confidence there. Yeah, it certainly hit me a bit there because I thought I was doing okay.
And does that experience then, does that shape how you see or experience when other young people get attached to with labels? Does that change the way that you now see people getting attached to labels or being labelled?
Yeah, it's to a degree, I think. Yeah, some labels are appropriate, but no, I think with it doesn't really mean younger person or older person. I think you need to spend a bit of time to get to know them or understand where they're coming from, because your first time you meet someone, you might get them on an off day or a really great day. They might be a great person when you first meet them, and the next time you meet them, like, this person's not great. So I think you need to spend the time. I don't think first impressions are the only way that you can judge someone or put a label on them.
I'd love to come back to the point you made about, you said, and I quote, things are different here when you moved to Australia from being in Singapore. And you made the comment about, not a lot of diversity. I'd love to hear about that experience and what that taught you or how you placed that as a young person.
Yeah. Look, so as I said, 1994, moved to Australia, moved to the Mornington Peninsula to study, to live. And it was different insofar as, obviously, it's a totally different culture, Australia versus Singapore. Singapore's quite diverse. The Mornington Peninsula in the early to mid-90s certainly was not. I think there was certainly some Chinese Asian borders, maybe a handful. There wasn't really anyone of colour. And I probably only reflected more on it later than I noticed at the time.
Right.
Some things I might have been treated a little bit differently. And I think, the reflection later was probably more, oh, wow, that was actually not great, than being in it, which may be some naivety of being a young person and taking, people on face value, which I think is okay as a young person. You don't really want to be caught up or getting your mind caught up in things that may or may not be present.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah.
Not sure if I answered your question there.
Well, what has it taught you? If you think about the reflections you've now had, what kind of lessons or how do you place that experience now as somebody, post school?
Yeah, I think things are very different now. So it's probably, I hope that doesn't, that experience won't be something that someone would experience now. I think how you view people, there's a saying of treat people how you want to be treated, but I think there should be another level to that of don't just treat people how you want to be treated, but treat them better. Like you shouldn't have to just have the same yardstick or barrier for how you deal with people. I think people can be better than what they are as a status quo. So I think that's that's my reflection and learning from it is just be better at how you treat people.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing. I was going to say a nice little thing, and then I feel like that's making it downplaying of like, just be better, right? Just be better. I think that's such a helpful thing. I have to say, so when I was a primary school teacher, I bloody loved teaching maths.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, given your background and what you're doing, like now you're an engineer, but you even dropped in, I did specialists, I did methods, like, so there's a thing there around this pull towards maths. What's the affinity for maths and problem solving for you?
I didn't do very well in maths and specialists. Let me just put it on the table.
But I feel like the fact that you can already go in and do specialists
Yes, I wouldn't even put
maths
that down.
methods is pretty incredible.
Yeah, great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I probably have my sister to thank there because she's 4 years above me, so she was doing her uni and she did a science degree. So we were sort of studying at the same time. So she certainly helped me through a lot of those problems and that study aspect. But I don't use a lot of those tools that I learned 20-something years ago now, which is a bit scary. But I think that the aspect of problem solving is certainly something that I do like. It may not be a numbers thing, but it might be an operational project issue, particularly with work. You certainly, with any job, you're going to approach a problem, and how you deal with it, how you solve that problem it's fun to get at the other end and go, yeah, you know what, I've got to somewhere, it was a roadblock, but I found a way to get around it. And I think that's pleasing.
Do you have like a strategy? You're going to ask the same question?
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
I love when you and I both do a smile. We're like,
oh, yeah. You said you like the idea of problem solving, getting to the other end of a problem. Are there things that you tend to do when you're in those situations?
Take a step back.
Why? What does that give you?
Gives you time, because it's usually a high stress situation where you've got a problem. Like, it's not, something's come up. Well, it's usually it's a problem that there's probably time sensitivity to get to a solution.
Yeah.
But you need to take a step back and look at it. I think it's work out, okay, how have you arrived at that problem? Is there a quick fix, or is it really something that you're going to have to come to a really good solution for? But yeah, that almost helicopter approach to look at it from above. I'm not saying take 2 hours to review it, but instead of going, okay, that's what I need to do, like, don't jump to the conclusion, because I don't think the solution is going to come to you straight away. So if you spend an extra 5-10 minutes going through it and almost pressure testing, more than likely going to have a first impression, okay, I do that and it'll be solved.
Yeah.
But you might have, I call it unintended consequences. That's something I always have at the back of my mind. If you put something forward, what's the consequences? And are there unintended consequences where you make something worse? Give yourself a second, go, okay, here we are. Don't dwell on why you got there.
Okay.
Go, okay, what's the solution? What can we do? Also, not what's the solution, but how can we spend some time to get to your solution?
Yeah, what are the options? And then what are the strategies that we need to bring in for this?
I think that the implementation side is fine. Like, that should work. You should have practices in place to make that happen. It's what's your strategy, and then the implementation just should work for itself.
That's so nice to hear, because I used to love doing projects with the kids in class, and we would literally practice this. So the thing that I like, having stepped out of schools now as well, is it's so lovely to hear in industry that that's actually a relevant thing. Because listening to what you said, it's not that I'm downplaying maths at all, but it's less about specific maths aspects, and it's actually the critical importance of being able to problem solve and work out what are the strategies I can draw upon to help me.
And then and there's always steps. There's not going to be one push one button and you're solved. It's going to be steps.
You mean AI can't do that for us, where we just press the one button yet? No.
Maybe.
So we'll jump to, I guess, thinking of this journey. It's a really lovely way to move ahead to the journey. And I loved when I was bringing together the steps, because you wrote no gap year, no pause, just straight onto the path into uni. So you go from school directly into this. There was no gap, no pause, straight into it.
And sorry, he also said time off is not a thing to do in your family too. That was like, I saw that a fair bit as well.
Yeah. Oh, the coach in me wants to know, drill in on, like, what does time off mean?
Yeah.
But I'll hold back on that. So, and then you move into to do your Bachelor of Engineering. So, and you're focused on civil engineering.
Yes.
I think as well, we'll come to it and maybe pause it just to help the listener understand in the simplest way, what is civil engineering? I know that might sound a little bit, a bit silly. And then you move into to become a traffic engineer. Again, I think that would be really helpful if you could outline, like, civil engineer, traffic engineer. Then you thought, you know what, in 2014, it's about time I do a Masters of Business Administration, also known as an MBA. At the same time, you start 1 Mile Grid, your company that you've now been running. And then you now have over 21 years experience in this, and you're a senior engineer overseeing 1 Mile Grid and a number of people within that organisation. So the first thing I thought is, what is civil engineering for the listener? And then what does a traffic engineer actually do?
Sure. A lot in there.
There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there.
I'll try and get to it. Okay, so civil engineering, that actually has probably 5 or 6 arms, I'll call it. So it's usually infrastructure. So some sort of construction is usually your end result. So there'll be so your civil, which will be earthworks type of thing, excavators, that sort of type of work. Then you'll have hydraulics, so water, how water moves through spaces and all that sort of thing. Not really exciting for me. That's why I don't do it. And then structural, where it's the building, your steel, your concrete, how a building stands up, how bridges work and things like that. So I studied generally all of that at uni. Traffic was actually a very small part of it. It was probably 3 or 4 subjects out of a 4-year degree of my civil engineering degree. So traffic is very small.
Yeah.
I don't think that's changed a lot. But because most people like the flashing lights of the structural. Oh, wow, there's my building. I designed that. And I certainly got caught up with that.
Yeah, what is it about the traffic engineering that drew you in?
I will be honest, I fell into it. I applied for a whole lot of grad roles when you finish. Well, when I finished uni, and then got a civil contractor. So a civil contractor is the guys that are out there with the equipment. Got a job there for a few. Well, I had the job, and then I got this other job with a small firm doing traffic engineering. So I thought, you know what, I'll give it a crack. And yeah, here we are. I don't want to correct you, but 23 years later.
Sorry, the maths incorrect. See, I like teaching maths, but maybe the doing. Yes. So, right. Sorry.
It's probably 20. Anyway, this is my 23rd year practicing.
Talk to us about the going straight from school into uni, and as Loz said, about that idea of, well, we don't take time off. So talk to us about straight from school, uni to full-time work, no gap year.
Yeah, so that was, so I finished at 12 in 1999 and then went straight into uni. A lot of my friends would have taken either 6 months off or 12 months off to go to Europe and spend all the money that they might have spent at Hungry Jack's or elsewhere. But I went straight into uni for my 4-year degree. I did think about taking some time off, and then I decided that wasn't a good idea because I knew exactly what my parents would say.
Right.
No, you need to go straight in. You need to start working. You need to get a job. You need to have your degree. Your degree was very important. There was no situation. I won't say no situation. There was no situation where I could have not got a degree in that time of the world. And look, even now, I would actually probably as important now. If I was 18 now, going into and suggesting that maybe I won't go to uni or something like that, I'm pretty sure my parents would also not allow that.
And what if your kids said that to you? How would you respond now?
Lucky you can't see my face. I would certainly strongly encourage that they would go to uni.
Yeah.
I wouldn't force them to go to uni, but it would be a very strong encouragement.
Yeah, because I think it's fascinating because there's so many benefits to the different pathways that people take. Can you help the listener see, because you were smiling just before when you were talking about going through all this, and even when you were talking about the different forms of engineering and then also with traffic engineering, what have been the benefits for you by going through and following that path with getting a degree?
And I think I was fortunate. I always had engineering in my mind, even though I probably didn't understand it. Well, I definitely didn't understand it when I was younger, but I always had, for whatever reason, engineering in my mind. So I think I was fortunate in that regard, because then I just went, you know what, great, got into engineering, let's keep rolling on this train. It wasn't really an issue there for me. I think time was probably very, very important, because then I graduated when I was 21, which is very young. Yeah. And I certainly... I still I like to go out and all that sort of thing as well. So there was a bit of a balance there. But I graduated when I was 21 and was able to start working at 21 years old as a full-time engineer, which as I moved forward, I was certainly the youngest by, I wouldn't say a yard, but a fair way. And then I did stumble across people that I went to uni with that took some time off. And then I all of a sudden was 2 years ahead of them in terms of career progression.
You did say, going back to back, I was ahead of the game in terms of my peers. What do you mean by the game?
Well, that career progression, experience, exposure, and things like that. And I remember that this one guy I went to uni with who did take that time off, and look, very successful life experience for him, so that was great. But I remember him saying he actually had to leave the business. He goes, I can't get ahead of Val.
Really? You were like this competitor for him?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, great, but in my mind, I'm like, well, I didn't take time off. I went straight through. Here I am.
I've been grinding.
Like even with other people that you speak to, they're like, well, gee, you're so far ahead, you're making money. I go, yeah, but how was your time in Europe for a year? Like, you put value on different things. And I said, look, I would have loved to have gone to Europe for a year and had a great time and had that life experience. But I guess I chose it a little bit differently. And I think that set my early time, like pre-30, up to have progressed to a point where, in 2014, when I'm 32 or 33, to start my own business.
And I think going back to what you said before about either way, there's unintended consequences with it. So if they go to Europe, there's unintended consequences for you. There's somewhere you hear this thing where someone says, actually, I can't stay in this company because I'm wanting to progress, but Val's already on that path.
Yeah.
What about, sorry, Loz, I feel like
No, you go.
I'm jumping into me. I'm super curious. So why the MBA? So as you go through, you're settling in, you're seeing that you're progressing, you're deepening this understanding, you're engaging in your work as an engineer. What was it about an MBA?
So the MBA was, again, my dad. So a little bit of expectation that, you need to do a bit more than just your degree. And also for me, I wanted to have my own business. Like that was the entrepreneurship, the business side of things was what interests me a lot. Certainly I'm on the tools still in my role at the moment as a traffic engineer, but and that obviously still excites me, still gets me going, but it's a business, managing people, having something, well, it doesn't have got my name on it, but it's mine. And obviously I share it with some business partners, but it's my project. It's something that I've built from the ground up. So the MBA was, because I always had that back in my mind, so I started the MBA 2 years before that, or 2.5 years before, because I thought, let's get this grounding, let's make sure my business ideas, the way that I think things should be managed are correct. Because, a lot of times people just roll ahead and you might look at that and go, "Ooh, why have you done that?" That's totally not how you should do X or Y.
Yeah.
So it was more just to make sure that what I was throwing down and what I thought a business, or how I thought a business should be run, was the right way. So yeah, I did a MBA for 3 years, managed to squeeze it down into 2.5 because I did a week intensive for a few subjects. Finished that in 2.5 years, which was I thought a pretty big achievement because I was still working full time.
Yeah, it is a big achievement.
So that was sort of head down, bum up sort of territory.
Yeah.
And it was 2.5 years. You just push through. I think that seems to be my mantra: push through.
Yeah.
And you get to the other end.
I know we've only sort of met properly today, but based on what you're saying, there seems to be this real openness to be intentional and driven, but driven on the right things. And that you also can see that there's opportunities by focusing on those things too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah. If you accelerate something or get to the end of something quickly that you see the value in, then you're going to reap that reward in another way. Pushing ahead with the MBA. And look, a Master of Business, it's not for everyone, and it's not going to teach you everything, but I think it gives you an appreciation, it opens your mind a little bit to business, organisations, people. It was a bigger component to the MBA than I had anticipated. Yeah.
Whenever Tom talks about going out in his own business, Tom, my husband who's been on the pod, we always talk about this conversation. We were on our way to this wedding, and Val was in the back seat, and Tom had been pretty disgruntled in his role for a while. And I would say, like, in his early 20s, he kept saying to me, I want to go and, I can do this myself. And I'm super risk averse. I'm like, no way, there's no way you could do this. You're good at what you do, but do you have the business ideas? We were on our way to the wedding, and Tom's talking to you, and you said, "You can do it, Tom. I believe you can do it." And you'd been running your business for at least a year, I think, by that point, or maybe not even quite.
I don't think it was quite a year.
Yeah. And that, it was for me, because I was like, okay, well, Val's doing it. He sees something in Tom, and you worked together with Tom, so you knew him beyond just a personal relationship. You knew him in the business sense too. And then Tom's like, we can do this. I'd love to know, if you were to say that to somebody again, you could do it, you could start your own business, what kinds of things do you think that person would need to have? Or what did you notice even in Tom that you're like, you could do it?
I think with Tom in particular, dedication and work ethic was very strong, and not giving up. I felt that about him, because with any business, with anything, any project that you might pursue, there's going to be challenges along the way. And a lot of people, that's where they fall over to start with. But you need to go, okay, here's a challenge, let's push through it. Yeah, I might not make some money or I might lose some money as a result, but I'm going to push through and trying to get to the outcome, try to solve the issue that might be in front. And I felt that he could do that. So that's why I'm so glad that advice, or even that few sentences has resonated with you.
Of course.
I think that's probably the main one. And I think Tom knew. He just probably
needed to get me over the line.
I think that's what happened. Like Tom backs himself with everything, and I think that was it. He just needed the outside reassurance, which a lot of people do. I probably wouldn't say that to everybody.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I would manage my words, because also you don't want to upset someone. That if you've run a successful business and someone else says, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and you don't think they can, it's certainly not something I want to say to them. So I guess you just have to manage it. And you know what? Sometimes failure is a way to move forward. And I would love to be proven wrong. Like if someone goes, "This is my idea," and I'm going, "I'm not sure about it," but they give it a crack and succeed, and maybe they pivot to something, or they make it work somehow, then great, good on them. Like I'm not the ruler of what's going to work. It's just my personal opinion, and I think in life you'll certainly see that your opinion is one out of millions.
Val, what are the indicators that let you know that something is a good opportunity?
It's a great question.
That's good. I think I feel it. I think there's certainly nothing. Numbers certainly will never stack up. If it's a fresh option or a fast starting type option, then the numbers won't be right. You definitely have to forward look and go, what's that area? I invest in some various things, and certainly not as risky as some other people I know, but there's other things that I have a look at, and you go, okay, what's the industry like? What's it going to do?
What about even from a career aspect? So not even from an investment, but say like for you, because you seem to, you went from saying before, I sort of fell into traffic engineering.
Yes,
and then you've created this pretty amazing thing you're in your 23rd year now, that we know that. So I guess along the way from a career perspective, what are the indicators where you go, "Oh, this feels like this is a good opportunity," or "I can see that this could have some unintended consequences in all the right ways"?
Yes. So we were talking about structural engineering before. So I did a little sidestep in the business that I first started with for 6 months in structural. That was largely, again, my dad will come up again. He was like, "Oh, what's traffic?" Because traffic engineering is quite unknown. I'd be surprised if many of your listeners would know about traffic engineering. But structural engineering, everyone knows you build buildings.
We've been reviewing our data, and we can see we've got a high level of traffic engineer fans in the... No, I'm not too sure.
No. So traffic is a very small component of engineering. And it goes on to, I call myself a traffic engineer and transport planner. So there's planning side of things and how projects work, how new communities are developed. And that's what I really like. But sorry, back to that move. So I went to structural because my dad's like, you need to be able to build something. You need to have something that's got your name on it. I'm like, okay, right. So I did 6 months there, bored out of my mind. Like numbers the whole time. And what I was doing in traffic was communicating with clients, calling up architects, going, let's talk through this problem, let's get to a solution, dealing with stakeholders. Like I was doing that with a few years' experience. In structural, you are literally at your computer punching out numbers. You probably won't get that client liaison for another couple of years, purely because of experience, not because of anything else. But with traffic, you're able to deal with people a lot sooner. And as you might notice, I like to talk to people, try to work on a personal level to get somewhere. So I did this structural thing, good to test it out, worked, you realise it's not a go for me, went back to traffic. So I think having that, as I said before, you can sort of try something and fail. I don't think I failed. It gave me 6 months of a different experience, but then it solidified my traffic journey and my transport outcomes.
So based on what you take away from that is you're okay with jumping into something because you see everything as a learning opportunity, and then you're aware of what you're interested in, or maybe what your talents might be, or things that sort of spark you. Because you literally, when you were talking about structural, you like closed your shoulders, you leant in and you frowned, and then as you started talking about you literally sat back and opened up.
Wow.
As well. So you were aware that I've got more interest, a bit more talent, and this is a thing that seems to be the space that I enjoy more.
Yeah, correct. And I probably wasn't that good at structural.
Well, and there's that too.
But there's got to be something in that, doesn't there? You want to feel like you're accomplishing something, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I heard someone saying the other day, it's about chasing your talent, not about chasing your dreams necessarily. Because sometimes we chase a dream, but necessarily we're not that great at it. So you might have chased a dream around, creating a business, but it was in structural engineering. And in the end, you might have hated it the whole time. But you chased a dream versus chasing a talent where you love talking to people, negotiating.
Yeah.
You seem like one of those strange people that loves negotiating and the hard conversations, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what you love, and you're chasing that.
My wife might not agree with that. But, yes.
I did find it really interesting that you said your dad wanted you to go into civil because he wanted you to build something, like you need to build.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that you said, 10, 15 minutes ago, that that's what you love about One Mile Grid because you've built it. I found it really interesting that you actually did the thing just in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, with structural or things like, it's a building. That's your outcome. And because traffic and transport, it's so small in terms of the industry that I just don't think he had an appreciation for what it was.
Sure.
Yeah. And look, I wouldn't have gone to do the 6 months if I didn't think, maybe that is the opportunity.
Yeah.
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 If you asked 18-year-old Val what success was and looked like, how would it be the same to you now? Or how would it match up? How would it be similar?
I don't know if there'd be many similarities.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
So how would it be different?
Yeah, certainly as a young person, your success is probably, do I have the money? Do I have the car? Do I have the house? What am I doing? That sort of thing. Obviously, those things are great. I'm not going to say that I don't like those aspects, but it's also, where are you happy? Are you happy with your work? Like, I certainly don't think everyone here can go to work every day and be happy. I'm not saying every day I go to work and I'm happy, but I don't despise going to work. I enjoy what I do. I think I'm good at it. People come back to me for the work that I do. So that's, that gives me the tick of approval that I need. The other aspect is, are you comfortable with yourself? I think as an 18-year-old, you're probably more chasing the outcomes. But now I think as you get a bit older, it's, are you comfortable with yourself? Are you comfortable with the actions that you are putting forward, like in work and life? I think that's probably more important to me than what might have been a few years ago.
Yeah. You said the contributions you make outside of yourself is success for you now, like whether you can kind of stand behind them.
Correct. Yeah. And I think, again, it's giving back. You mentioned I was president of the career club. I did 7 years.
The prez. Yes.
The prez. So I did 7 years of that, and that's giving back to the community. And, I love cricket. I'm a cricket tragic, I think you would say. But yeah, that's giving back to the community. As you probably know, I've done Movember for 20-something years.
Yes.
Trying to give back to the community. I've always had a social service or social responsibility bone in my body. And again, Dad gets heaps of mentions. If he was around, he'd be happy with it. But so when I was, probably 7 or 8, he, I might say made me, because if anyone knows my dad, he made me sponsor a child.
Right.
So we had this kid in Cambodia, I think it might have been. And like that, from an early stage, you have to give back. You have to give back to the people. And like, he made me use my pocket money to pay for it.
Wow.
And then back then you'd have to go to the bank and get a check drawn and get it mailed across. Yeah, so he was very big about that give back, especially in our traditional Sri Lankan Tamil community, giving back to that community. He did a lot of work in that area. So again, that rubbed off on me, and I try to do more than what you can do with your 9 to 5 in your normal life. Let's try and, obviously time gets in the way, but try to do as much as you can outside of your normal operations.
You've spoken a lot about the values of your family of origin, especially from your father.
Yeah.
Imagine your daughters, they were sitting on a podcast in, 20 years' time, and they were asked the question, what are the family values of my home, my family of origin? What would you hope they'd say?
Wow. I haven't actually contemplated that yet. I think the values, I think it's, be kind. I think they're treating people like you like to be treated, or even better. And I think how you can use giving back. The giving back aspect is, because I'm hopeful that my children will be in a good position where they do have the opportunity to give back to their community and their people. So I hope that is something that they take away.
Yeah. And Val, thinking of the listener, so if they are a young person listening, or if they've got a young person listening, and hearing you describe what success meant to you and then how it's changed, what advice would you give them so that they can experience success?
I think it's back yourself. A lot of the time, there's a lot of outside noise. I think a lot of people will talk about noise in the outside, but it's certainly there. But if you're convicted and you think, and you feel that you've got the right position to do something, or you've got the idea, back yourself, give it a crack. Like, whilst I've certainly been successful, I think I've been lucky. I've chosen the right career. I've fallen into traffic. Like, I've done things that at that time you don't realise, but at the end of the day, great, it worked out. But you need to give things a crack. If you don't give it a chance, and you don't spend the time and put the value your time to put into it, then you're not going to get the result. So I certainly think you need to put the value where your mouth is almost, and then you can get that success, whether it's personal or material. I certainly think you need to give it a chance and give it a crack. And it's not going to turn around tomorrow and have it. You need to water the plant, let it go, and come back to it, keep coming back to it, keep nurturing it to get to the outcome. It's not going to be an overnight success, in my humble opinion.
It's such a, and this is the thing, we said this off air at the very start, but so often when we have guests come on, people are always like, oh, I'm not too sure, like how much I can add to this.
Yeah.
Because in your head, you have all this great knowledge and experience. So I think in your humble experience, but I think it's such a profound one because it has worked really, really well. And I think every insight's helpful.
Thank you.
I'm mindful of something Laura and I are always, we want to come back to is also like the idea of skills. So there's knowledge and then there's this idea of, you've already said problem solving is a really helpful aspect. Thinking of that idea of, backing yourself and all the knowledge that you now have of negotiating, the importance of connecting with people, building relationships, all of that experience you've had, and the failures too, right? Because that adds to all your experience. What would be the key skills that you think are really important for young people today?
I think listening. I think being able to take the time to listen to someone, because everyone's got a different opinion. Take the time to listen and take it in. Don't jump to conclusions. I'm not sure if that's a skill or whatever, but yeah, it's similar to my answer to the problem solving question was let it sort of wash over you for a second and then be able to react. When you're dealing with people, something might be emotionally charged for them. So you need to give them that opportunity to vent or explain their position. You take it in and don't react straight away as well, because that may come across as though you haven't really thought about it. Even though that's probably the right answer, give yourself a second to come back to it, to respond. So I think you can use that everywhere in life.
In the VIA, they do which is positive psychology based. They do this free assessment. You can also do paid versions too, but they have the different character strengths, and one of them is prudent. And it's this idea of sometimes people go, oh, I've got a top strength of prudent. They feel bad. It's actually about like having foresight to be able to see what could potentially be unintended consequences down the track, but being able to take calculated risk and also just wait and observe before you move ahead sometimes. So I'm wondering if that's, as you hear me say that, if that's something...
Yeah, I certainly think it probably there, but some people might be like, no, you have to act straight away. You have to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And look, there's places for that as well, certainly. But I still think if you are going to strike when the iron's hot, you still have to have the knowledge behind you, or that's the thing. Foresight is what you said, because most people aren't just striking without actually having an idea about what the outcome might be.
So striking while the iron is hot can actually look very, very different, right? Because you don't know the internal stuff that's happening if someone's thinking carefully about it before they do it.
Correct.
Versus just wildly throwing it around and hoping for the best.
I think that's a difference.
Yeah.
Val, I'm very mindful of your time. It's been so lovely having you. Can we ask you one final thing?
Please.
What is one thing that you're focusing on learning for yourself?
This is a new question, is it?
We do that, or what's something that we haven't asked you, but I like this one. No, I like this one for Val.
Sometimes we also say, what's something that we haven't spoken about that you think would help the listener?
Yeah, okay.
I like this one for you though.
Okay, then you want to go again?
Yeah.
Let me...
So what's something that you're focusing on learning for yourself?
Okay, thank you. One thing I will say before I answer that question is that I say to my staff, every day is a school day. You're learning something. I remember yesterday in particular, one of my senior staff, we went through something and he was like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's a different way to approach something. And he was like, yeah, wow. I said, yeah, every day is a school day. And I say that a lot because I think you are learning something all the time, learning something about other people.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a hard skill of 1 + 2 is 3. It's a life skill. As you get a bit older, the life skill side of things certainly takes control because you've probably already established the more technical base of where you've come from. So what I am looking to learn is certainly to explore. We touched on it earlier, I think before we started recording, about AI. I think it would be remiss of anyone to not at least lean in to see what opportunities there are for it in your business, in your personal life, to make yourself more efficient. Yeah, I think that's where it is. And look, for some people and for some things, it may not be applicable. But I think leaning in to see if there is an opportunity for you is probably, well, not probably, it's where I am. And I haven't talked about one of my things that I am very passionate about, sustainability. That's something that as a business we're very committed to, and also personally. So yeah, trying to be as sustainable as possible. So anything I can learn there to maybe, as you say, one of those weird ideas or unusual ideas, see if there's something as a business that we can maybe push a little bit more on sustainability is certainly something that I'd like to explore.
So exploring the connection between AI and sustainability, is that what you're thinking? Or is it just separately the role of sustainability within your work and traffic engineering?
A bit of everything. So I don't think together, they might well be together. But the sustainability side of not just a work sense, but how I operate and how you can maybe encourage other people to operate.
Val, thank you so much for being on More Than a Score. Like, he is a podcast expert. I think that's two that he's done it.
100%.
We often try and finish with a crisp high five, so I don't know if you've been practicing your high five, but I've made it awkward now because I've asked you for a high five. I feel like I'm forcing it now. Is that all right? Can we do it?
That's fine.
All right, are you ready? Let's go.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one.
See, if Laura pulls back, then I know it's a good
seriously. Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, meh. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Val.
How do you feel?
Felt good.
So if you do know someone else that you would like to nominate, or if you yourself would like to join us on the couch and come and be on the podcast with Laura and I, we'd love to hear people's stories, share their pathways. You just heard Val's, an incredible one. Reach out to us at morethanascorepod@gmail.com. And then Laura, what is our handle on Instagram again?
More Than a Score Pod.
Thank you. All right, thank you. And that is a wrap.
Thanks.